Yo, welcome to the Unchained podcast. I'm your host, Keelan Martin, joined by the Bible scholar, Charles Leger, aka Granddaddy. If you're curious, we're just two guys looking to spread love, hope, and joy across the world by sharing with you the gospel of Jesus Christ and how it changed our lives. And we made this podcast so we could specifically show you how it's going to change and impact your life as well. So we aim to take this message across the world, and you can help us do that by going to anchor.fm/unchained. That's anchor.fm/unchained. And from that page, guys, you got three options. The first option is called More Places to Listen. Click it, guys, and then you can listen to us on your favorite podcast station. That helps keep us on the air. Or you can click the button right below that and you can donate to help keep us alive. You can make a small monthly contribution, or you can leave us a voice message and tell us how this podcast has changed your life. Thank you, guys. Hey guys, welcome to the Unchained podcast. If you didn't know, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so that it sounds great. They'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make your money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Guys, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. That's anchor.fm to get started today. Peace, guys. Yo, what's up, guys? Was this episode 5 or 6?
5.
Yeah, this is 5, man. So
Granddaddy got you on one.
Yeah, so welcome to the Unchained podcast, man. The secret to freeing your mind. Keelan Martin and Charles Leger, man. We got a little bit of a different approach to today's message. Now, we are going to be using scripture, but we're talking mainly today, man, about I want to say division. I don't want to say racial division or anything like that, but typically division. Forgive the dogs in the background. If y'all haven't noticed, this is not the cleanest background noise podcast, but y'all will be all right. So that's what we're talking about today, man, is division in its entirety, and pretty much what it does, not just to America, but believers, what it does to families.
Let's make it twofold.
Okay.
So let's talk about division within the church and within the body of Christ amongst the believers, and then let's also talk about the division that is unfolding in our nation. I would say that has a lot to do with racial division, racial tension.
It does.
Even within the church.
Right.
Because you don't see the black churches across the railroad tracks having picnics with the white churches in the suburbs.
No, and they actually should.
They should. No, I think that's why we both sat down and said, let's do this podcast.
Right.
Because they absolutely should.
Right.
But they're not.
So
and how can, here's a thought. I didn't mean to get so
No,
loud.
go ahead.
How can they unify a nation that's divided if them themselves are divided?
Good question.
They cannot.
So
I cannot give you something I don't have.
So Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 10 says, I appeal to you, dear brothers and sisters, by the authority of our Lord Jesus Christ, to live in harmony with each other. Let there be no divisions in the church. Rather be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. He then goes on to say in verse 11 that there are quarrels among you. So it is something that is typical in every church, where you have people fighting maybe over the carpet color, what color the background should be on the screen, who's going to sing the solo, who's going to control the money, whatever the case is. There's always a selfish agenda when it comes to like divisions, especially like within the church, because I think that is an area where you have a lot of people who want to run something, but yet there aren't enough people wanting to be submissive to the headship of the church.
I just kind of heard that in my spirit. There are a lot of people in the church who forget that Jesus was their righteousness. And they become real self-righteous.
Oh yeah.
And real full of themselves. So there's absolutely a lot of divisions within the church.
Right.
It's sad. And it's pretty. I had this thought the other day. It's one of those little cliche sayings, there's no honor amongst thieves. But I look back on my life and I think about moments in my life where I hung out with nothing but thieves, and I held more honor with them than I do with some of the people in the church.
Right.
It's sad to say that.
Here's why, man, and I will be just as bold to say this, and some of you are listening, I may lose a person or two from the few we got right now.
It's all good.
but for real, man, it's like when I really, really think about it, I sometimes don't believe in Christianity just because of people that's in it. Not Jesus Christ.
You're talking about organized religion.
Yeah, not Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But the organized religion, because we are preaching the message of Jesus, but yet we're doing a different. We're doing this. We're doing different. Yeah, it's contradictive, man. So it's like, how are we supposed to win people over, or win those who are lost to Christ when the first thing they see when we bring people in is division.
Is division. And division, but on top of that, hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's no difference between the church of 2019 and the Pharisees of 30 BC.
Right. But I mean it's true though, man. Again, like we said before the podcast even started, Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun.
It's a repetitive cycle.
It is a repetitive cycle, which means that it keeps happening and it's getting worse because there hasn't been a collective, unified group of people to do anything about it. So it always boggles my mind, bro. Like, okay, so we got our first event on the 25th, right?
Yeah.
Of this month of August. Do you understand that we're going to be having service next to the exact same denomination? Another church having door next door to another church.
And they don't ever,
believe the same thing.
But never have the thought to say, hey, let's get together on Sunday and
worship together.
And worship together.
Bruh, or let's unify our efforts.
Yeah. And actually reach the community.
And go reach the community.
Yeah.
So you got two people with two different agendas. And I'm not saying two different agendas like they don't care, but what I'm saying is that
I would agree with you. And I would go a step further to say that God doesn't have two different agendas.
No, he's got one.
There's one agenda.
Yeah. It's
one will.
It's like the saying says.
He says, I wish that all would come to know Jesus.
Oh.
And Peter says that he says that he wishes that all would come to the knowledge of repentance.
Exactly.
And to know Christ. So that is, if you want to know God's agenda, that's God's agenda. Now the church's agenda is to fill pews.
Yeah.
And to have Christmas shows and Easter bunnies and all that colorful stuff that's not really honoring to God in the first place.
Right. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it, but I do think if you're going to fill pews, it's almost like here's the thing. Is like we look back at history and we look at Hitler. Yeah. That dude had a slew of people with one mind, bro.
Yeah.
And that was to execute.
Well, he unified. If that doesn't show you that even Satan works in unity within his kingdom,
right?
So, and that's something that's a powerful statement. The devil is not in disorder.
He's not. He's organized, dude.
And the evil spirits of this world are not in a state of confusion.
No,
they may cause confusion in your life.
Right.
But they not confused about their agenda.
Exactly. They know exactly.
They know exactly what they want to do.
They said the plan of the enemy is to steal, kill and destroy.
Bro. And they're unified behind that plan.
Exactly. So, okay, so check this out. We know that the enemy's agenda is to divide and conquer, right?
Yeah.
Right? So even Jesus said, that a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Now that's internal.
That isn't a good point. That is internal division.
Yeah,
but bro, it's internal. Look, here's the thing, bro. It's like when you have sickness that goes on inwardly, it manifests itself outwardly. Yeah. So it's one and one.
Anything that takes place in the spirit
is going to take place physically.
If my house is unified, then I am able to walk in unity toward those around me.
Exactly. So check this out. It's like when Samson and his parents were talking about him marrying that girl from Timnah, right? So they were upset because Samson wanted to marry this girl down in Timnah. They was like, "What?" The
Philistine girls,
right? So they were like, "Why can't you marry somebody from your own kind?"
Yeah,
right. Why can't you marry your own race?
Yeah, but why can't you marry your own folk? Why are you gonna marry them people?
Right, but I love it. So check this out. They're on their way down to Timnah. The Bible says that they were walking down to Timnah, and it says on the way, Samson got attacked by a lion.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it says the power of the Lord came over Samson, and Samson had snapped the lion's jaws. Okay, how did look? And then it said right after that Samson did not tell his parents what happened.
Yeah, they were divided on.
So he divided them on the journey, bro.
Yeah.
And then he tried to kill Samson on the journey. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So it's that was his orchestrated plan, because, like I said, Samson was cultivated to deliver the children of Israel. He was brought up and raised up, to, and
that was placed in him.
It was placed in. The Bible says the Spirit was stirred up within him. That was his calling.
When the land was full of lawlessness, that is the concept for the book of Judges.
Yeah.
That there was no righteous, there was no
It's the
order.
same time we're living in right now.
Yeah, there was no order in Israel. It was basically every man was for himself.
Yeah.
And we go back to this unity thing and the current condition of our nation. And not just our nation. I don't want to just talk about the United States. Let's talk about the whole world.
Right.
I mean, we're so divided. People are so divided behind religion, color, and even within religion, people are divided by denomination and doctrinal belief.
Right.
Well, you believe this, I don't believe that, so we're not brothers in Christ. And at the end of the day, it's sad to say, but the crackhead down the street calls the other crackhead his brother.
Yeah.
But you can't get along with somebody because they don't believe the same doctrine you believe.
Exactly.
So it's just, and people see that.
Yeah. So
you trying to witness to people who have maybe lived a hard life or lived in stressful situations, let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
Dude, they see right through that.
Exactly.
You divide. You're not even friends with the people you go to church with every weekend.
Yeah. You only speak on Sunday.
Yeah, and you want me to expect to believe that you got something that I need?
Yeah.
What you got that I need?
So that's what I'm talking about, man. Is like, Paul says it, and I'm gonna paraphrase because I can't remember it verbatim, but he says, we don't win people to Christ because of how we portray Christ. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like when it's almost kind of like we look on the news and we got like those radical Christians out front, calling people names and using, racial slander and all that stuff, man. And that's not, Jesus never did that, man. Like the only people he ever confronted were super religious people who did not operate in love, but they operated off trying to self-righteousness. Yeah. So that's the only.
And he confronted the inequity within people, but not in a way that was
not in a way that was judgmental
or not judgmental or really insulting, but just truthful.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, you dummy, I can't believe you're doing that. No. More like you can do better.
Yeah, the Bible says faithful are the wounds of a friend. So it's kind of like if I see something in you that I know you're doing wrong, like, hey, brother, it's not.
I'm gonna point it out.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't be doing that.
But the division in our country, and I wanna say this. I think a good picture of it is Ezekiel chapter 28, where it's talking about the king of Tyre and the prince of Tyre, and it clearly denotes the spiritual influence of an evil spirit upon the actual earthly king of Tyre.
Yeah.
So you got to understand something, that regardless of what you think about the leaders within your country, the leaders within your state, they are influenced by either a good spirit or a bad spirit. But even the ones who are influenced by that which is evil have been appointed by God.
By God. Right.
So because it did, that's the thing that kind of Paul points out in Romans, that let everyone be subject to authorities.
Yeah.
Because all power is ordained of God.
Yeah.
And you got to think of the context of the writing of that when he wrote it. I mean, the Romans were absolutely killing Christians and oppressing people.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? And he still wrote that.
Exactly.
He still wrote, be subject to these people because they're in power for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we don't always see the reason, but at the same time, I don't think, in fact, I know we shouldn't. And that's one of the things that Christians do that is pretty ridiculous. The same Christian who will tell you need to live according to the word of God will be the same Christian who you'll catch bad-mouthing Barack Obama.
Exactly.
or Donald Trump.
Exactly.
But the Bible says don't bring railing accusations against leaders.
Yeah.
Because not even the angels brought railing accusations against the powers that
Yeah, and so that's the thing that we also see, like in churches where you got people bad mouthing leadership behind their back.
Yeah.
And then it's
and that's
it's
a big
fakeness.
cause of division.
It is a big cause of division, especially if somebody catches you,
or
you're making this person view their leaders in a different light.
Well, now let me say this, dude, I lived in that for about a year of my life, and I was at a church where, and don't get me wrong, the leader did some things that I didn't like, and I questioned. But dude, they had so many people in that church. There was a handful of people in that church who talked about that man every day.
Yeah,
and it was one of the reasons why I left, because I was a part of it. I caught myself getting sucked into it.
Yeah.
I caught myself, like, out of my aggravation, out of my unmet expectations of what I thought he should have been, which is not a good thing for me to do in the first place.
Exactly.
I started to get aggravated with this situation, and I found myself being sucked into this group of people who were in that area where they badmouthed him all the time and talked about him all the time. And I did it for about a month or two, and then I was like, man, I'm gone. I'm not gonna do this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go back and forth. It's not my place to question, what. But I realized something, man. It is definitely, I would say it's definitely Satan, man. I would say it's definitely evil. I would say it's definitely fueled. One thing I noticed that we tend to do with our leaders is we tend to put them on a pedestal, and we start to expect things from them.
Yeah, and you can't do that, man. That's the biggest cause of disappointment is unmet expectations.
No, start expecting things from yourself.
Yeah. So that's funny. That's a funny statement that you said that, because I tell everybody, any client I've ever meet, I was like, look, I'm here creating a program, but do not expect me to fix you. You literally have to put in the effort. You have to make the conscious decisions. You have to work on you.
The physical training programs you put together.
Yeah, but anything.
But you do the whole spiritual mind body alteration.
Yeah, bro. Because everything starts in the mind, man. Like it's your mind is not wired to think negatively. It wasn't created for that. And
the world tries to frame it to think that way.
The world frames it, but here's the thing, and I don't even say, and I can go as far as to say now that the world didn't even have to do much work. You see what I'm saying? Most people wake up and immediately go to Facebook, immediately go to Instagram.
Yes, because so in psychology, we start to learn that habits actually create neural pathways within the mind.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I'm saying? So basically, we are designed to follow after what becomes habit.
Right. So scientifically, man, here's one cool, or a couple of cool facts that I learned. Okay, so the first 20 minutes of the day literally sets your outlook for the entire day. The first 20 minutes, whatever you do the first 20 minutes of the day is what sets your outlook for the rest of the day.
For the rest of the day.
If somebody wakes up and they decide they want to look at, there was like a bombing going on somewhere like in life ever, their mind will be fixated on, those poor people.
Discouragement.
The discouragement or sadness. If somebody gets up, the first thing they do is they see something sexual on Instagram. Bro, that's where their mind will be all day long. If somebody gets up and sees like one of those Black Lives Matter videos or a black kid getting gunned down,
that's where their mind.
That's where their mind for the entire day, bro. And they will sit and research it. They'll post on it.
Let's talk about this then. Let's talk about how platforms like Facebook and Twitter and what's the other one? Snapchat.
Yeah.
I am getting older. I don't have any of them but Facebook, but still. And Snapchat, dude, these platforms absolutely promote things onto your feed that you like and that you respond to.
Yeah, so it's like being monitored or watched. One thing that, and I'll let you get into, because I know where you're going with this. People nowadays, even on websites, they hire professional hypnotists to actually write out and sculpt the websites. So when you actually land on their website or you land on a certain social media platform, they actually sculpt the actual platform in order to draw you in. So it's hypnotism, which is why you're like, I can't believe I wasted 2 hours just scrolling through Facebook.
Through this. And let's also talk about how these platforms have data analysts and psychologists on staff.
Oh yeah, bro.
They create psychological profiles off of the data that they collect from your profile.
Yeah.
What you like, what you watch, what you view all the time. Mm-hmm. And then they propagate that and propel it into your face and into your mind.
That's Facebook's teaching mechanism.
Yeah.
If I want to run ads on Facebook, it shows me exactly how to get what you like, the places you visited the most, take all your information, put it into an ad, and then I target you. Target you specifically.
Targeting.
Yeah, I target you specifically. I can set up geo maps so from where you get in within 5 miles of wherever I am, then I can automatically send you a message. I can actually put a Facebook pixel on whatever website I want, and so the moment you say a keyword that is on my website, if you say shoes, coffee pot, whatever that is, bro, the moment you start looking through different websites, you'll see a little ad pop up at the bottom of your website.
So then let's ask this question, dude. If now we know that, let's say this, I'm gonna pose this question to you. Do you believe that elections are won by division?
Absolutely.
So if a platform like Facebook can create division and specifically target people's likes and wants and desires, can those platforms be used to help people gain power within countries?
I definitely believe so. It helps people gain power in the marketplace. Bro, I mean, everything you see on Facebook is an ad. Money talks.
Yeah.
Money talks. So if...
So it is division at the highest level.
Right. So, okay, put it this way. You ever notice how when there is a somebody, like say a black kid gets shot by a white cop, right? Yeah. You ever notice the moment that happens, Facebook is flooded with all kinds of 3 or 5 minute snippets from all kind of.
So then, do they take? Let me ask you this then. What do you think about this? Do they take an incident that can be easily manipulated to create division to distract people from the true division that's going on a much larger scale?
That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of it, bro. Like one thing we used to do, like when I used to box, one thing that my coach used to teach me is, dude, when you have that blocking hand up, I want you to fidget with your hand. The only reason he'd have me fidget with that hand is to draw his eye to that hand so I can throw the other one. Yeah. Bro, it's the same thing that happens on Facebook.
Distraction.
It's the distraction. So when he sees this hand move, his eyes cuts that way, and I throw the other hand.
We used to call it bamboozling people.
Right. Yeah. Right. Muhammad Ali used to do it with his feet. Yeah. He'd move his feet, somebody looks down, he
shuffle his feet and he'd throw that jab.
Bro, that's the same thing that happens on Facebook, man, every day, all day. So if I can get you to look over here and get you upset about what cop got shot, who got robbed, who said this, who made this comment
slavery,
about, bruh, whatever it is,
social injustices.
Yeah, if I can get you to look over here for a few weeks while we create this law in the back room, by the time you realize it's actually been implemented and done, bro, it's too late.
It's too late.
You can't say nothing about it.
Yeah, well, and you've already voted for the person who's passing the laws.
Bruh,
you've already elected them in the office.
You already elected them.
Yeah, because what they do is they use these same platforms to mold their campaigns after your likes and your desires.
Exactly.
And then they feed you nonsense, and then once they win the election, they do what they want.
Exactly. So, and that's the funny thing is, like, we put people in office that, here's the thing. I always say you're going to choose between the lesser of two evils. I don't care who's in office.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you actually seen some, I've actually seen some quality candidates, bruh, never get the time of day.
Well, see, I like Ben Carson, dude. He just seems
exactly
like
never got the time of day.
Not even at all. Not even close.
They was like, oh, dude, you Christian, you talk, bro, get out of
Christian,
here.
And you don't lash back out at people.
Yeah, get out of here. You too nice.
You too nice. You can't run this.
It's like the girl who prefers the bad guy over the guy who wants to actually treat her right. You know what I'm saying?
The guy who would actually do some good for the country.
Exactly. I don't want you. Get out of here.
Yeah. So I think that's important. I guess we kind of tied them in together. And we didn't really talk about the difference between the divisions in the world and the church. But I think
they're one and the same.
I think that's exactly what I was about to say.
They're one and the same, bro.
I think the reason the world is so divided is because the church is full of hypocrisy and division.
Right.
So nobody sees this unified church walking in the love of Christ. And let me tell you something. I'm going to make this bold statement. We think the miracle is the power. Love is the power. Because where the love of Christ is, the miracles will follow.
Exactly, man. Because I think anytime when you can, be offended or somebody hurts you, be it you still stay there and love a person, bruh, that's what wins people to Christ.
That's that's what opens people's hearts.
Exactly.
They see your character.
It's like I was watching this show the other day, and it's funny that we say this, but I was watching the show the other day, and this dude is confronting this pastor about what this pastor has said to his wife, and the pastor gets mad and he punches the dude.
Yeah.
And so the dude looks at him, brushes his cheek off, and says, "You want the other cheek?" So the dude doesn't even go to church like that. Yeah. But really, man, is like when we're looking at what I say, like one and the same as far as church in the world, bro. There has to be like I would have changed. That comes from within self, and most people will never make that leap to become greater or to be a better person because of literally what they feed their minds, like what they choose to focus on. I got like a little snippet coming out like this week, man, that literally it's called Flesh Wound.
Yeah.
It's called Flesh Wound. And most people, man, they end up doing something damaging to the spirit or how they think based upon what they feed themselves mentally.
Yeah, so I kind of talked about that, and I'm gonna just share it with you. I talked about it Wednesday night at church, dude, and it's from Romans chapter 12. It's not being conformed to this world, but being renewed in the mind, so that we may prove the good and acceptable will of God, right?
Yeah.
So that word conformed in the Greek is like to conform oneself, one's mind and character to another's pattern.
Yeah.
So there is literally this pattern in the world, and it's a pattern that has been in place ever since the beginning of civilization. Yeah. That's what I was talking about. That's why I read what I read earlier in Colossians to you before we even started the podcast about how, and I have put on the new man who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him. In other words, the image of God who created man, where there is, so within God and within that image, there is neither Greek nor Jew nor circumcised nor uncircumcised nor barbarian nor Scythian, slave nor free, but Christ is all and in all. So there you go. You see Paul writing to the church of Colossae, and he's trying to unify them and make them realize that Christ is in all, and he's a part of you all, and God is with you all, and we're so divided by color and by ethnicity and by cultural differences that it's tearing us apart. And I think it's because of those things that we fall victim to evil powers that come into play in the world and try to control us. And it is this pattern. It is this pattern that has been in place ever since Egypt. You can go all the way back to the Mesopotamian civilization,
right?
Where you see the Chaldean antiquity, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, all these, and some of those are believed to be the oldest civilizations besides the Mayan civilization.
Yeah.
But still, even some believe that those civilizations are older than the Mayan civilization. But anyway, you see that same pattern. You see people, you see the haves and the have-nots. You see the people in power enslaving the people who were not in power, propagating lies like the Egyptians. The Egyptians believed that their pharaohs were reincarnated into animals. They worshipped them as gods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just these things, these patterns, these things that the world has placed in front of man since the beginning of time that has caused division and hatred and death and violence and war and every bad thing.
Bruh, and that's due to, like I said, lack of awareness.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. And it's crazy because, like I said, I was on a call this morning, bruh, and before church, and we always talk about a DISC assessment. Like, you took the DISC assessment. And the reason why that's so important is because, we study science, we study math, we study real estate, we study cars, we study, whatever it is. But how much time do we actually take to really learn ourselves, what our strong points are, what our points are, what we're good at, what we're not good at, how we react emotionally in certain situations. We don't really study those things. But when you try to figure out what a feeling is or why you feel the way that you do, you'll look up something on Google, or you'll read a magazine versus really like sitting down and thinking about, okay, like why do I feel this way? And that's important, because if you're not trying to figure those things out about yourself, if you're not really thinking about what goes through your mind, bruh, it can alter everything about you. And that's the crazy thing, because that is what really causes, like you said, these patternistic behaviors that we carry out into the world, where we start believing that white people aren't good, or black people aren't good.
Yeah, that thought that all black people are criminals and all white people are racist.
You know, the crazy thing about color is that, bro, we're all one color. And I'm not saying like everybody on the inside is red, but what I'm saying is, bro, take every color on the color wheel and pour it into a bucket and mix it. What color does it turn?
I don't know. It's an artist question.
It turns black. All of it. Okay. You put every bucket in the color, you stir it all together, it turns black.
Yeah.
So, when we look at the early days of Christ, and we think about it, that everybody generally, they were really, really dark on that time. Well, but the further you move away from that civilization, what happens to the skin pigmentation? It changes color, bruh. It becomes lighter.
Well, so and if you believe the Bible, there was a point where there were only two people on the earth, and civilization started with them.
Yeah, so here's the thing, is like,
so which the name basically means we're all related, right?
Yeah, so the name Adam means dark earth. It means dark earth. We talked about that before. Yeah. Even Esau had a reddish tint to his color. Reddish, means dark earth. So formed from the ground, you're made dark. But what I'm saying is, bro, when you move further and further away from that civilization, or wherever you were cultivated, bro, your skin will change pigmentation.
Well, yeah, when you move further away from desert areas, further away from the equator, further away from, I forgot exactly what it is, but sun exposure, all those things.
Exactly. They have a different effect on you. So it's kind of like when you work out in the sun day, you don't get whiter, you get darker.
Yeah,
right? You get what I'm saying? Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Dark. So I'm not
like
trying
a red man.
Exactly. So I'm not even trying to say that all people are black. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we all come from one source.
We all do this thing where we visualize that this person, but you're not really black.
No.
It's the color of your skin, and it's a label. Because really, at the end of the day, you're a person.
Like I said, it's a census that was created by the government so they can figure out how to run this country.
Well, and even at the beginning of time, dude, it had to create divisions. I read this book. It's a real out there book, but it's by a guy named Alexander Hislop. And basically, he believes that the Catholic Church is just pagan and evil. Right?
Right.
Now he was a theologian and he was a scholar. He studied archaeology. He studied theology. I mean, he studied all kinds. Dude was smart. He was not a stupid dude at all.
Right.
And if you read his book, I mean, some of it's pretty compelling. Some of the stuff they do does seem to be pretty idolatrous and out there.
Yeah.
But one of the points he made, and he basically talks about the laws of conquest and what Egyptian powers would do, and not just Egyptian, Babylonians. When they would conquer new areas, they would carve depictions of gods who would resemble the people.
Yeah.
Same concept of the white Jesus.
Right.
Or the black Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think it's all evil that does that, dude.
It is. Here's the thing. I've never, when I became a Christian, I never ever thought to myself, I wonder what color Jesus is.
I wonder if Jesus is white.
I never thought that. I never thought it. Like, I think of Jesus as God. I never thought about
what thought in my mind.
I never crossed my mind about what color he is. I could care less, bro.
And the more that I learned and the more that I studied, I started to realize that he definitely wasn't white.
Yeah.
He definitely wasn't a fair-haired white guy because, dude, he was born in the middle of a time period where they were in the desert all the time.
Right.
Like, all the time, bro. They walked around the desert all the time.
Yeah.
How is he a fair-haired white dude? No, bro. It doesn't make sense. And he got blue eyes.
Right.
I mean, no, bro.
Yeah, so it's like, and here's the thing, bro. It's like,
imaginary.
It is imaginary.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I really don't care. I could care less what color he is.
Well, here's why. Here's why, and here's the point that Hislop made, and it's a really good point, dude. And I understand what you're saying, because I really don't care either. But if I want the black person to follow after what I say, or if I want the white person to follow after what I say, I'm going to deify someone who resembles me in order for them to make that relation between black or color and God.
Right.
So the white man resembles God, so he's more like God. Or the black man resembles God, so he's more like God.
Right.
Now I understand you got a grin on your face, and
no, I'm laughing because
it's almost psychological warfare, bro.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
And it's really tactical.
Because it's like, okay, 430-some years ago, we were in slavery, and I'm not finna follow no white Jesus. Like,
yeah, I ain't messing with no white Jesus, dude.
Bruh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But there is some, and the craziest part about it is, dude, you was never a slave.
Now, bro, I say that all the time. They go, oh, what about our ancestors? Like, bro, it's tough sledding for them.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like tough sledding for them. Like, praise God, I wasn't born then.
Yeah.
I couldn't take the whip.
Well, and then I think another thing I think of, let me make you focus on something that happened 400 years ago, so you're not focused on what's happening today.
Right. So
let me get you so consumed with and don't get me wrong, please, anybody listening, do not mistake what I'm saying. Slavery was a horrifying and horrific social injustice.
Right.
And it was a horrible time in our history, and every single nation that has ever been established and built has the same history.
Every single one.
A history of slavery. I don't care if you're in Africa. I don't care if you're in America. I don't care if you're in Spain, if you're in France. All of those nations were built upon the back of a slave.
Every single one of them.
Some of them, which, by the way, were white.
Yeah.
Because it really has more to do with the haves and the have-nots. But it was an absolute social injustice. It was a horrible event. But there's so much more horrible things going on nowadays that we don't even see because we're too busy distracted by something that happened 400 years ago.
You know what they tell you in any sport that deals with speed? Is don't look behind you.
Don't look behind.
Because when you look behind,
you
bro,
get caught by what's in front of you.
You get caught.
Yeah.
You get hammered by looking by what's behind you.
Yeah.
So, on a football field, the worst thing you can do is get past somebody and then look behind because you can't see the safety
Reggie
coming.
Bush, bro. He was so good in college, but then he got to the pros, he was scared. He kept looking behind him, trying to run backwards.
Bro, you cannot, even in track, they tell you there's only one man I've ever seen look behind him, and that was Usain Bolt. And that's because he was so far ahead of everybody, he was clowning. But that's the one thing they tell you not to do. Because in track, you look back, it slows your time down. Yeah. In football, you look back, you get hammered by what's in front. If you were in NASCAR, you look behind you, bro, you're gonna smash into a wall. So any sport that has to do with speed, the moment you turn your head around, you're done, man.
You get caught.
And
I think, guys, I really think why we I know why we went off in this direction, why I went off in this direction. It causes division. It causes division amongst the races. That's why I'm so against depictions of Christ within the church.
Yeah.
But and people say, well, that just sounds crazy. Well, it's just truthful because it causes division. I hate to say this. I go to an all-white church. There ain't no black people in my church. And I can't honestly tell you that if black people came to my church that they would feel completely welcome. They would feel welcome by some. Because I know there's some people in there that are full of love. But then I also know they got some of them old folk in there that I don't know if they'd make them feel very welcome.
There's some, and that's like some old people just set in their way, especially those who grew up in like the 30s, 40s. You know what I mean? It's hard to change their mind. And, like true story right now.
And the sad part is a pastor can't do anything because my pastor would absolutely make them feel welcome.
Right.
But my pastor wouldn't be able to spend every moment with them.
Right. And this thing is like I was getting ready to say, at my church, there was one individual who I didn't know at the time because, again, white guy, hugged my neck every Sunday. We would have 5-10 minute conversations every Sunday.
Yeah.
Super nice guy, man. We talk every week, man. He come give me a hug, brother. Wrap both arms around me, talk to me, chit chat. And one Sunday, bro, our pastor was doing an illustrated sermon about how Jesus honored his disciples by serving them by washing their feet. Yeah. Because it was a show of honor, and friendship and love.
Yeah.
And so
show of humility.
A show of humility. So he called me on stage, he washed my feet.
I was there when that happened.
Yeah, then he called my wife on stage and then I washed her feet. And bro, let me tell you, I think there was a wedding that he attended. I think like the next day or like the next week or something like that. But between that time period, my pastor had gotten a voicemail from this gentleman who hugged me every single day, bro, for like 8 years, every single day, and was calling him like an in lover and all this other stuff. And you know, not gonna tell you what, Charlie. Anyway, but he called my past all kind of names that had something to do with racial slurs, man.
I remember I was working there at that time.
And the thing, it was so crazy because instead of him approaching me like a man and saying, you know what, bro, I don't really understand. I don't understand, anything about your race. Like as long as I've known, here's what I've always understood about race and about racial inequality. Here's what I understand about it, and here's what I believe to be true. Can we talk about this man to man and have a conversation and help me see what it's like to be in your shoes? That's what a real man would do. Like a real man's not gonna sit up there and attack the pastor for him operating out of what he knows to do is operate out of love. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But you don't sit up there and attack somebody because you haven't grown yourself, in maturity. So the thing about it was, I had somebody ask, well, are you mad about it? Are you hurt? I was like, nah, man, I'm not hurt about it at all. I feel sad for him because he's got to go until he's willing to, accept that, bro, you hanging on to something that is a lie and a deception. And I don't know, like, what you believe about black people, but bro, whatever it is that you are thinking, not true.
Well, let's say
not
this.
True at all.
Let's say this, dude, and let's go back to that pattern because it's almost ingrained in the people.
It is,
and people are ignorant to it.
Well, here's the thing: is like, for the first 7 years of your life, and in the last trimester of pregnancy, whatever atmosphere that baby has, that last trimester of pregnancy, all the way up until 7 years old, are the patterns that kid will have. If they don't have any kind of interaction with something that alters that mindset, they will make changes as an adult as they would 7 years old. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
It has a lasting effect.
It has a lasting effect. Whatever patterns.
Those are the most detrimental years for brain development. Well, some of.
Because we make 95% of our choices out of the subconscious.
Yeah.
So that means about 20 minutes a day.
We go back to those neural pathways.
Yeah, we go back to those neural pathways
that were formed as not only a child but adolescent years.
Exactly, man. So it's really about, like I said, what you expose your mind to. Yeah. And if all you're going to do is...
So then as parents, it's really about what you expose your children's mind to.
In the younger years, yeah. What you expose them to in the very early years determines how they act as they get older. And it's not to say that the kid can't ever change, but, you literally, if you want your kid to change, then you have to change because the kid will ultimately model what the parent does. Yeah. So, those first 7 years, they're modeling everything that they're being taught.
So can division, and here's a thought that just came to my mind. I would say division can be a generational curse.
It can be a generational curse, but it can also be eradicated.
Well, I believe that, yes. I definitely believe that. I grew up, in southern Louisiana, and I had some family members that are just downright racist. Yeah. Just to say it. And, and I mean fairly racist. Like black folk at all. Well, then they didn't like me too much either because I hung out with a lot of black folk. Right. So if
you had the cooties, they didn't want to touch.
Yeah, it was but for real though, it was almost like I had the cooties.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, just I got the same hatred. It's almost like a hatred.
It is a hatred,
and
man.
It's just there. And listen, I learned it. It's not just in the white community. I got the same hatred for some of the black people, the older black folk that I was friends with their kids, and they were like, "Don't be bringing that white boy to the house."
Yeah, I remember, man. I got into an argument with my aunt when the Patriots played the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Because there's one question that annoys me, but I can't stand it. It drives me up the wall. If anybody on this podcast listens, to pet peeve of mine. Don't ask me this question ever because I'm gonna smack you. But I was talking to my aunt on the phone. I called her. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm getting food ready for the Super Bowl. I'm at the grocery store. I'm buying this, buying that." And she's like, "Well, who's the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles?" And I was like, "This is Nick Foles." And she goes, "Oh, is he black or white?" I was like, "What difference does that make?" Like, I can't stand that question, bro. It's like I was like, "What difference does that make?" And I'm not sure if you're trying to, are you trying to congratulate? Does that rub you the wrong way? And the way the conversation went, bro, I wasn't expecting it to go there. But, the conversation pretty much tilted in the direction of, black people never get the break, and black people never get this and that, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like,
white people are only good at one thing in football.
It's like I don't want to understand. Look, I was like, I don't want to get into this conversation. I really don't. But I'm like, for one, it was almost an insult to me. You see what I'm saying? I grew up with the deck stacked against me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up poor, but I did grow up without a dad in my house. I did grow up a lot of the time alone, not because my mom abandoned me, but because she had to work and pay bills. So a lot of things I had to do, I had to fend for myself. Like no coaching in certain areas on how to save money, how to do this, how to do that. I wasn't taught any skills as a man. Like, I'm terrible with my hands, bro. Don't ask me to do no carpentry work. I'll staple my finger to a wall, bro. But it's like I didn't grow up with any of that, man. So everything that I've learned over the years, I have been self-taught, and me watching other men as I got older trying to figure out how to do things. And so when I'm looking at what I bring in for a year, bro, and like when I hit my all-time high of like 92 grand for 1 year, and I did that like as an entrepreneur, I'm like, now you're being disrespectful, because I could have been like flipping burgers and making 27,000 a year. I look at
look like she got you in your feelings with that.
But she did. And so I'm looking at my grandfather, my grandfather, intelligent guy, man, one of the first played on one of the first Negro baseball teams, the New York Giants, playing baseball.
So the only limitations we have are the limitations we put on ourselves.
The ones you put on yourselves, man. And that's when you start saying stuff like, oh, well, we never had nothing, or we always get put down, we never caught a break. Oh, they're always trying to put the black man down. Like, look, let me tell you, look, I'm black and Charles is white.
The only position that white people are good at in football is quarterback.
And lineman. Well, actually, that's
most black people are linemen, dude. I'm just saying, running backs, wide receivers, they all black, dude.
It's a black dominated sport, right?
Yeah, what is she talking about? But I'm serious. The only good players you got that are white in the NFL, they are all quarterbacks, bro, and a few wide receivers, tight ends, and stuff.
Yeah,
like
a few.
That.
But my point is this. Is that, man, I never had a problem getting a job. Never had a problem going and applying for anything. Most of the people that hired me were white people. Most of the people who have poured into my life have been white people.
Yeah.
Most of my friends I've grown up with have been white people. And to be honest with you, it wasn't because I ran away from black folks, bro. It's just, I don't know. It's just that's just the way like my life turned out.
It's because what you see on the TV is not the truth.
It's not the truth.
So you go, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, man, and I realized something. You turn on Facebook, you turn on the media, you would swear that black people hate white people and that white people hate black people.
It's not even that.
You go down the street to the gas station, and a black dude is working behind the counter, and he's the nicest dude you ever meet.
Right.
You talk to him for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So there's got to be a communication breakdown.
There's a communication breakdown.
Either that or absolutely it's a propaganda machine.
It is. So what you're looking at, man, when you're looking at division, is like, I have been told on social media that I shouldn't like you, Charles, because you think something different about me. Yeah. Like, if I see a cop in the store, I shouldn't talk to him, because if I did something wrong,
he'll shoot me.
He'll shoot me. If I say something wrong, or if I get out of line, he'll shoot me.
Yeah.
Now, if I go reaching for his gun, he's right to cap me several times. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not even saying.
But that's not the culture we live in. Even if you reach for your gun, he ain't got the right to shoot you.
I guess so.
You just got the right to shoot him, and he ain't got the right to defend himself because he's a cop.
Right. And so that's the thing, is like, for those of you that are listening, look, let me be clear. Let me be clear. For me personally, I can care crap about color. I can care less. I don't care what race you are. If any of you are listening who know me in high school, college, no, I've always had a group of multicultural friends. I'm talking Asian. I'm talking Mexican.
If I'm going to a barbecue, I want you to be black. other than that, I don't really care about color. But I got some preferences. You know?
Right.
If I'm going to a cookout, I'd rather it be an old black lady.
Hey, here.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, man. It's like, that you're being brainwashed. Let's put it that way. Being told to hate people because of race, or being told to hate people because of financial status. Being told not to like people because of what kind of population
that
you're in.
Seems to be another stigma, dude. Let me say this as a white person. I grew up with most of the same problems you grew up with if you black.
Right.
My mom was strung out on dope. We didn't have all kind of money.
My dad was strung out on dope.
I watched dudes beat on her. I watched all kind of stuff growing up. You know what I'm saying? Me and my dad didn't have the best relationship growing up. He was there for me. Maybe that could be a difference, but we all go through stuff, dude. I'll go back to the haves and the have-nots.
That's exactly what it's about. So for those of you that are on here, look, the reason why we have named this ministry Unchained Ministries, because you need to get those shackles off your mind. So when it comes to the population you live in, the area you live in, the job that you have, you need to get out of this mindset of I can't have, nobody wants me to have, I should do this or I should do that. You should literally be thinking about, like, what do I want for my life?
Yeah, I want to say this. I'm hearing this in my spirit real heavy right now. There are certain powers in this world who would love for you to believe that no white person will ever want to help you, while God has placed white people in your life who will elevate you if you don't think that way. Yeah. And that goes the same way for the white person who may feel some type of way about black people, and maybe God has placed a black person in their life who would absolutely bless their life if they would get over that type of thinking.
Yeah, or if you're a Christian and you see or you see somebody of different, religion or belief, you're in their life for a reason. And as long as you sit there and stare at that person and think negatively without actually having the conversation, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Good example, bro.
You're doing yourself a disservice.
I was all strung out on them drugs. I was robbing, I was stealing, I was doing all kind of dumb stuff. When I came to Knoxville, it wasn't a white church that took me in. Eternal Life Harvest is all black church. I was one of the only white people in the church.
It's just like the church I go to now.
Yeah.
Bro, I was a fly in the milk in that place. There wasn't no black people in there but me.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? So I didn't have those limitations on my mind. I didn't think that black people meant me any harm, and I didn't think that white people meant any harm toward me. And because I didn't have those limitations in my mind, God moved me into an area where it just so happened that the pastor I needed to sit under at that time was a black dude.
Right. And
all his leadership was black. And I wasn't chained down to racism.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be.
And because I wasn't, it propelled my life into an area of, I'm gonna say, promise.
I would say that too, and I think by hanging around somebody different or different cultures, different races, you get a broader spectrum of what life is really all about, and really what you're fighting against. You get to understand that. Because when you look into someone else's lifestyle from their lenses, then it doesn't really, like, you start to understand, like, I don't have a right to make this assumption about them based upon what social media said or anything else. Because there are some people who have grown to love a different race, culture, or somebody of a different religion has grown to love that person because they got to know the person.
Let me put it this way to all the white people listening. It was a black pastor who gave me a place to stay for 7 months when I was homeless.
There you go.
And I'm not saying there wasn't white pastors out there who would have done the same thing, but guys, the world wants us to believe that we should be divided. And God wants us to realize that we should be unified. Right.
So you got two people on this podcast right now. Of course, you've guessed it. One's black and one's white. And it was funny. My parents had told me years ago, they said, man, if I didn't know any better, if I had never seen you before, and I got on the phone with you, I would think you was a white dude. I said, well, yeah, that's just how, look, that just tells you how much I've conformed to this area. Because when I came from Nashville, not even the same vocabulary. I come out here with these country folks, and I'm talking like them and everything else. But, but no, for real. Like I said, I don't really label, man, my circles as color, man.
No, yeah, absolutely not. But but I guess it is good to point out the differences in ethnicity between us. Yeah. Because we're able to sit here and have a rational conversation about some serious issues within this country. Right now. And you see you see people sit down and have serious issues with this country, and they sit down and do podcasts, and they all the same color, and they all view it the same way.
Right.
And it seems to be one-sided. So I think us being able to sit down together and do something like this to give a perspective, from both viewpoints. I mean, I think
right, because both viewpoints, man, end up at the same place. Like we said yesterday, man.
The same place.
The cross, man.
Same place.
God
doesn't want us to be divided and full of hatred, man. And I'm serious. He's put somebody in your life who will bless you, and racism may be the thing stopping you from receiving that blessing.
Or just division. Period. Anything
just
that's
division.
Anything.
Oh yeah, maybe you. Let me say that. Maybe you're not even racist, because I know some black dudes across. They mess with me because when I came to Knoxville, I was on the east side, and then I ended up living in the Ville for a while. So they all know me, and they're not racist at all. But they're not gonna go look to a white dude to help them because they don't think it'll happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not because they're racist, just because.
It's just the way they've been programmed, man. Like I was telling you, like what they've been taught since they was little.
Yeah. So so they don't even reach out into those areas because they think it's a waste of time.
Right.
And it may not be truthful at all. It may be an absolute lie, because it may be very profitable for you to reach into those areas.
Yeah, and I think I'm not gonna say I think, but I know for a fact, if you're trying to elevate yourself in any means, man, whether that be financially, spiritually, emotionally, whatever area of your life, if you're trying to elevate yourself, you need to sit down and have a serious conversation about what you want out of life and get a good perspective of how you think about things and how you go about things, because that's the downfall that you have. Is like you're not advancing or going where you want to go in life just because simply of how you view things and your viewpoints. If your viewpoints are screwed, like literally, man, or skewed, sorry, if they're skewed, then you need to line those up.
He said screwed.
You need to line up your viewpoints with the Word of God and see how that pans out.
And line them up with the Word, yeah. Just line them up with love, not hatred, dude. Not division. I mean, because if you could do that, you lining up with the Word of God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there is no love in judging a person you do not know because of the color of their skin.
Exactly. Or any person for that matter.
Any person, yeah.
Now we can judge the fruit you bear. We can tell by how you're living.
Yeah.
But to judge you, the person, I don't know what you're going through. Yeah. I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you've been taught. So it's unfair for me to come down on you and say something about you when I don't know anything about you. I don't know the situation. You may be acting that way or producing that fruit just because of what you've been told.
Or I just met you.
Right.
But you 44 years old. So what happened 38 years ago that I don't know about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And every other year after that, and we just seem to write people off because we don't like the way they behave, and we never try to understand or view, maybe view things from their perspective. Each his own, but some of the most challenging people in your life will bless you beyond measure if you're patient enough with them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, man.
Because they'll teach you how to grow. And they'll teach you, one thing that I learned is that challenging people will teach you patience. And patience will always equate to peace.
Yeah, I agree with that. Action step for y'all, man, before you get up out of here. Action step. Whatever it is that you may be having mixed feelings about or divided about, I challenge you to go get some knowledge in that area. Whatever it is you've been told, or like if you use words like I can't afford it or I'm broke, go read a book about money. From I would say a quality source, like go look at Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. Like go read something financially. If it's about your culture or a culture, whether it's whites or blacks,
Hispanic.
Hispanic.
Because we are a multicultural society.
Yeah, so you need to go and like that's why like months ago, like me, Charles, and our boy Rodney went and ate at a Cuban restaurant, and you know, we ain't going here. It's like, oh man, we don't want to eat that. We want no Cuban food. No, it wasn't that, man. It's like
that stuff was banging.
It was,
Them
but
empanadas are so good.
But you go and eat something like that, man. You actually get a taste of the culture, what they believe. Super nice people, man.
Yeah, they nice people.
Super nice people, man. Had a blast of some good food.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
it was banging, bro. I found another Cuban restaurant too.
Dude, I found
over there in Halls.
There's a Colombian restaurant right next door to that old Cuban restaurant that we ate at. Colombian. Some of the same stuff. I was like, I gotta call Charles. We gotta go there.
I'll go. I'll go with you.
Oh yeah. But man, y'all get what I'm saying, man. Like action steps, man. Go explore something this week that you've had mixed feelings about or you've been miseducated on, because you might get a whole different perspective. Maybe you know somebody from a different race. Maybe you know somebody from a different religion. Like just get to know them, man, and don't sit up there and point fingers and judge because of what they did.
I challenge you to go if you white, go talk to a black dude this week or a black.
If you don't talk to any black folks,
if you don't talk to no black folk, if you just like, I don't know, I'm scared of black folk. And if you black and you don't talk to no white folk because you think white folk ain't got nothing for you, go try it.
Yeah, just get outside the box, man. Go talk to that thing you're scared about, man. Just go do that. But on another note, before we get out of here, we do have the tasting from Hannah's Inc., which is a fundraiser for Unchained Ministries. We're going to be having that at 151 Sycamore Drive. That's actually North Tennessee at Covenant Life Church. We're going to be having that Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. If you guys can come, we urge you to come out. $15 if you buy the tickets online. Just go to Hannah's Inc. on Facebook. That's HANNA_SINC period. That's Hannah's Inc. And you can click on the link there, man, to get tickets for the tasting. $15 there, the $20 at the door. We're gonna have some comedians come through. We're gonna have a good time in the Lord, man. Get some laughs, have some food. It's gonna be fun. I'll meet you guys there because I know there's some people that are local that are hearing this podcast, man. So I don't know if Granddaddy will be there. He might be working. So if not, then
when is it?
It's Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. So
this Friday,
this upcoming Friday. So it's like I said, just some comedians, some good food, man, some entertainment. Like I said, come out, join us, man. Like I said, it's our fundraiser, man, to help support our ministry. So we appreciate everybody who's been kicking in, who's been listening. Cooking? Man, what aren't they cooking, bro? Look, if y'all don't know anything about Hannah's Inc., man, they're a team of three. Carol does a lot of cooking, Lauren does all the bacon. Lauren does all the bacon, and Stacy has some of the best coffee. I don't even like coffee like that, but I drink her coffee. I don't know where she gets her coffee beans from, but I do drink that. But man, you talking about some of the best food, man.
Dude, Lauren made them cake pops.
Man, look, let me tell you something. Lulu's Confection Connections, man. This girl makes. I don't know where she comes up with all the ideas,
dude,
but she can make anything, bro. Like she made these raspberry lemonade cookies or whatever they were.
Bro, she got it.
Let me tell you something.
Cooking,
I ate about 40 cookies in 2 days. I couldn't stop eating those jokers, man. Like for real, man. And Carol was frying fish. We had a little fish fry, dude. It was I hadn't ate like that in a long time. But yeah, man. So I don't know what they got on the menu. I don't know what they got planned, but it's gonna be some good food, man. Some fellowship. Again, like I said, got some comedians coming through. Like I said, y'all get y'all's tickets off the website for $15 or $20 at the door. If you guys cannot make it, there's also a link that I'll be posting on the Creative Motivation page on Facebook as well. Or you can click the link on Hannah's Inc. on Facebook, and it'll be a link for Eventbrite. And you can donate if you cannot make it. So again, man, we just appreciate all your support. We want to invite y'all out from 7 to 10 p.m. this Friday. Again, at 151 Sycamore Drive. That's North Tennessee at Covenant Life Church. Man, we look forward to seeing y'all there. Yeah. So before we get out of here, man, what's the nugget of the day, Charles?
Nugget of the day. Oh gosh, you hit me in the head with that one. You know, I was reading this weekend, man, and I was reading in 1 John. And I was reading about how if our hearts condemn us, we got to basically realize that God is greater than our hearts. And basically it goes on to say after that, if our hearts condemn us not, then we have confidence toward God. Being confident in God is what will empower us to do great things.
Yeah.
being confident in who God, because here's the thing, the word heart in the Greek kind of goes back to that inner man. It's a cardia. It deals with the intellect and the thoughts. We go back to that. So it's not just the main artery in our body that pumps blood, but it is actually our thoughts and our desires. And to condemn is to accuse. So when we get to this place where our thoughts no longer condemn us or accuse us of wrong, to where we find freedom and confidence in God, we're able to do great things. In fact, the word confidence in the Greek, it literally means to speak with boldness.
Yeah. I like that. It's a good nugget, Charles.
Yeah.
It's a good nugget, man. I can chew on that one all week long.
I got a few of them. So whenever, just be confident, be bold in what God has done in your life. And if he hasn't done anything in your life, I'm telling you, you just ain't realized it.
So he's done it. You're just not looking.
You're just not looking. You don't see it.
You breathing right now.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Don't see it.
Yeah.
So this is, here's the evidence that we believe what we preach. We speak it.
Right.
Boldly.
But we also walk it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, nugget of the day, man. Be confident in what God has done in your life, man. So, man, we're going to get up out of here. We're going to see y'all next week.
Be confident what we trying to tell y'all right now about racial division is true, too.
Yeah, or any kind of division. Yeah, be confident in that, man. Go do your action step, man. Go talk to that thing you scared about. So, man, we love y'all. We out of here. Unchained. Peace out. See y'all next week.
Yep, be good.